Hi everyone, it's Miss Pratt. So I'm sorry that I can't be there with you all today, but we're going to start a project. It's going to be our bubble art project. If you've already started, keep watching and we'll get to a part that you guys can go ahead and work on in just a minute, okay? So what you're going to need is your paper, crayons, markers, and some circle shapes. These should be in the pencil box on your table. Okay, your paper is for the original works project that we're doing, so you only get one piece. So you need to make sure you're listening to directions because I do not have extras for you, and if you mess up, you're going to have to find a way to fix it. Okay, so the first thing you need to do, like always, is go ahead and put your name on your paper. Put your name and your teacher's name. So I'll give you a minute. Go ahead and do that on the back. Write it lightly in case you need to flip over to the back and write it there, okay? All right, after you have your name and your teacher's name on the back, you are going to get some circles. Okay, you can have different sizes. I've tried to kind of mix and match. This is a really big one. I've got some small ones, and I've got some medium-sized ones. You should have plenty at your table for everyone to have at least one. And what you want to do is you can start with just one, lay it out here, and you're going to trace it lightly. Okay, if you have a hard time tracing lightly, remember you can put your hand at the back of your eraser and trace it that way. Okay, so I'm going to pause it while you're tracing. You can have some go off the edge of the paper and trace it. You can even have some that overlap, like this one. Okay, so spend a minute doing that, and then I'll show you the next step. I did mine a little darker so that you can make sure that you see them and you see what you can do. So here's an example of two that overlap. So if you see they touch each other here, that's okay. Make sure you draw it. I have some that go off the edge of the page, so they go off the border of the page. That's okay too. Your next step is you're going to pick out some colors that you're going to do the background. Now your background is just with your crayons, okay? It should not be with your markers. The background is just with the crown. So your background is everything around the bubbles. It's not the bubbles. So I think I'm going to do my bubbles in blue, green, and purple. So I'm probably going to do some reds and maybe pinks for the background. So I want you to spend some time coloring your background, make it look really nice, and then we'll move on to the next step. Okay, so do you see how I outlined my bubbles first? You can do that if it helps you to make sure you don't get in the bubble. The other reason that I'm doing this too is that we're going to use our markers, and then after we do our bubbles with the markers, what we're going to do is add water to blend it and make it look like it's a watercolor picture. And if you do a nice job with your crayons and you go dark around the bubbles, the watercolor won't bleed into your background. Okay, so that's a good thing to do if you want to make sure that your bubble colors don't run into your background. All right, so keep working on your coloring. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and play it again so you guys can watch what I'm doing, and you can also keep working on yours while I'm working on mine. So I'm going to try and fade my red out a little bit and then maybe add some orange to it. So if you want to do like I am and kind of have an ombre effect, you can. You can also, if you want to make it go even further with the ombre effect or fade out, you could go from red, orange to yellow. If you were doing blue, you could do blue, dark blue, light blue, fade out to green, or fade out to purple. Either one would work. And I'm probably not going to fill in all of my background, but I do want you all to fill in most of yours. Okay. The next step that we are going to do is we are going to make a light spot on each bubble. And a light spot is something that you see on items when they're in places of lightness and darkness. So basically, almost everything has a light spot or a dark spot on it. And they're really important when you're drawing to make things look three-dimensional. So a light spot's kind of like one of our vocabulary words that we're going over this week. And your light spot is going to be on your bubbles. It's going to be on the same side on each of them. So it can be any shape you want to. I would probably do kind of a triangle shape. And I'm going to start right here on this big one. So if I have it here on this one, it needs to be kind of the same location on these other bubbles, okay? And you want to draw it a lot lighter than I am drawing it, okay? I'm drawing it darker so that you can see it, okay? And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get my marker and I'm going to go over those spots, okay? Your bubbles can be different colors or they can all be the same color. If I really liked this blue, I could make all my bubbles blue. Okay, but I'm going to switch it up. I like different colored ones. So I'm going to have some dark blue and some light blue. So you need to keep track of which ones you use for the light spots though, because you'll be using them again in a minute. So I'm kind of keeping mine organized over here to the side for which ones I'm using. And if you get a marker like this marker isn't working very well, switch out and get another one. Okay. And I know a lot of our markers kind of fade in and out. So sometimes if you go over it a few times like I just did, it'll come back a little bit. But if it's not working, pick another one. So I'm going to have, I've got some blues and greens. Now I'm going to have a purple one. I'm going over that light spot. And again, make sure with your pencils that you drew lightly so you don't have to, or you don't see it after you do it on your bubble. All right, I've got another purple. I'm having a dark purple. And then I think I'm going to do a dark green for my last one. All right, now I'm going to show you one of the last few steps on how to make our bubble actually look three-dimensional. So I'm going to start out with the green one since it's the biggest. What you're going to do is you are going to go around and outline your bubble. Now, do you see how thin that line is? You can't hardly see it. That's what you want to start with. And then we'll go back and I'll show you where you're going to thicken it up. But you're going to draw very carefully along your pencil lines, okay? Alright, so I've got that green one completely done. What I want to do next is I want to go back and thicken up one side, or like one half of the paper, or one half of that bubble. So I'm probably not going to thicken up the side where that light spot is. I might go over here to the left of it. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make it a little wider. And what that's going to do is that's going to make a shadow on that side of the bubble. And you'll see how in a few minutes, okay? So I'm going to go back and I'm going to color that space in. Do you see how I'm kind of narrowing that back out? I'm doing that on both sides. So I've got my green one done. Alright guys, so I have all of my bubbles finished except for my light purple one. So I'm going to finish that really quick, and I hope you're finishing up yours. Remember, I'm going all the way through the ones that overlap so that you'll be able to see underneath. So it actually looks like a real bubble. And remember, if you want to darken those lines up, go over them again. And remember that one side needs to be thicker so that it looks like a shadow. So basically, like I talked about earlier, with three-dimensional objects, when you're trying to make artwork that looks like it's three-dimensional, normally you have a light spot and a dark spot, or a dark side to make a shadow. So our light spot is this kind of triangular shape, and then our dark side is the side where the line's thicker. You can even add like a shadow underneath your bubble. So if you wanted to go back and add, maybe on this side that's darker, do your lines a little bit thicker, a little bit darker, you could do that all the way around. That's totally up to you. Okay, so if you look at mine, I've got all the bubbles done. I've darkened it up so it'll look more like a shadow underneath all this. And so your next step, if you have time in class, which hopefully you will, is you are going to get your water cup and a paintbrush. And basically what these markers will do is they act like watercolor. So you're going to go to each one, you're going to add your water, and that's basically going to blend out just like watercolor, okay? So you're going to go over it a few times and it'll start to fade out. You see how that's getting lighter? And you're going to do that all the way around it. Okay, even in the spots that it overlaps, so it'll blend some. And then you need to go around the light spot. Now you're not going in the white or the light spot because you want that to be the lightest spot on your bubble. Okay. Okay, my artists, so this is my finished project that I worked on today. What I want you to do now is make sure that your name is on the back. If it's not, write it really small somewhere down at the bottom. And then I want you to put it on the drying rack and clean up your table. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day and do a nice job for your substitute. Bye.